Hey there, fellow wanderers. You find yourself in the midst of a humid dusk, where the air clings to your skin like a second layer. Cicadas drone in hypnotic rhythm, as if they're chanting stories only the land remembers. The scent of rain lingers in the soil, mingling with sweet, smoky traces of fire from far-off hearths. Before you, ancient earth rises mounds shaped by countless hands, one layer at a time. They aren't just hills, they're monuments to memory, each one crowned a chief, wise, fierce, absurdly human. You imagine feathers swaying in the breeze, firelight dancing across painted faces, laughter echoing across the valley. This isn't legend, it's a life lived at the rhythm of river and ritual. So, before we dive deeper, I ask only this. If this kind of raw, unvarnished truth speaks to you, click like, hit subscribe, and leave a trace of yourself in the comments. Tell me your city, your time, your state of mind. Now, dim the lights. Let the hum of your fan blend with the wind of centuries past. Let's begin. And remember, in ancient times, even survival was a luxury. You settle in, and your mind drifts into the midst of a bustling Mississippian settlement. Picture yourself walking through a lively marketplace where the ground is hardened from countless footsteps and the chatter of people surrounded by bartering, laughter, and the occasional commotion fills the air. Looming over this vibrant scene are the mounds-massive earthworks that demand your admiration with their silent grandeur. They are the heart of the community and the homes of the chiefs, each one as unique as the individual whose leadership it represents. These chiefs, central figures in Mississippian society, held not just power, but also the curiosity of their people. Their lives were filled with the rituals and responsibilities of leadership, yet interwoven with a humor that seems to transcend the stringent formality that might have otherwise dominated their existence. From the moment they rose with the sun, greeted by the scent of smoldering fires that blanketed the dew-laced earth, to the echoes of their voices that painted the air with words of wisdom or whimsy, each day was a tapestry of the profound and the peculiar. The Mississippian chiefs lived lives dictated by the rhythms of the seasons and the cycles of the moon, yet they found light-hearted moments amidst the gravity of their roles. Even in times of hardship, a clever jest or a well-timed quip could smooth over tensions or break the ice with a visiting delegation. Imagine one chief, strolling through his domain, his feathered headdress fluttering like the wings of an eager bird, his eyes sharp and observant, yet twinkling with a mirth that betrayed his stoic exterior. His stride is deliberate, calculated, but interrupted by frequent stops to chat, engage, and more often than not ease. Through the smoke of a nearby fire, you see him approach a stall, picking up a piece of pottery with an intricate designer gift, perhaps destined to be both a token of favor and an inside joke with its recipient. Remember that while the responsibilities of a chief were numerous, ranging from ceremonial duties to conflict resolution, the role also afforded the unique opportunity to influence and entertain. You see, to be a successful leader in these sprawling societies often required humor as much as it did wisdom or strength. To laugh meant to connect with one's people on a genuine level, reminding them that even a chief shared in the day-to-day unpredictabilities of life. Historians still argue whether the Mississippian chiefs intentionally interwove humor into their leadership strategies, or if it naturally arose from the social intricacies of the time. What remains clear is that humor was a vital thread in the tapestry of their leadership, a reminder that amidst the grandeur of their rule, they were, at heart, still human. The curious life of a chief was not without its moments of levity, especially during festivals and social gatherings where laughter might dance alongside the drums, wrapping itself around the droning chants and rhythmic movements of the crowd. You can almost hear it now, the laughter mixed with the drumbeats, a sound ancient yet familiar, drifting across the evening sky as the chief's figure disappears into the festivities, leaving you to ponder the innate comicality of unpolished human nature. Their fascinating lives, full of these quirks, await your exploration. For now, you remain poised at the threshold, ready to embark upon this journey through time, where humor colors even the most mundane moments, and laughter echoes against the boundaries of history. The air around you feels thick with anticipation, as you find yourself in a scene unfolding at the heart of the Mississippian world. Picture a vibrant and contentious social scene, a richly coloured garments sweep by, fluttering in the occasional breeze, as a multitude gathers with a buzzing excitement. You're standing in the midst of a courtship ritual, where comedy often wrote the script, introducing a layer of hilarity to a fundamentally serious affair. Mississippian chiefs played pivotal roles in these courtship displays, often orchestrating and overseeing the events that would lead to the unions of influential families, alliances, and friendships. As you stand there, you can't help but smile, considering how these events were ripe with the potential for miscommunication and comic incidents. Imagine a young suitor, earnest yet awkward, attempting to share his intentions. His voice projects with a sincere intensity, though slightly wavering, his words a mix of hopeful sincerity and humorous overcompensation. The chiefs, standing by with a nodding sense of authority, conceal just the hint of a smirk at his inflated bravado, and oversized tokens perhaps, a necklace of shells that clinks awkwardly against his knees, or a piece of roasted venison he'd have sworn was still warm. You see, in these scenarios, the chiefs had to balance authority with approachability. Their nod was both supportive and slightly indulgent, hinting at the underlying comedic potential these encounters provided. Of course, there was also the occasional misjudgment, when the youthful postures and attendant exuberance led to unintended embarrassments. Historians still argue whether these blunders were staged as part of grander schemes designed by older generations to engender patience and humility in youth, or simply were organic unfoldings of human nature. In these lively courtship encounters, humorous misunderstandings could often bloom into something much more. Perhaps one young woman misconstrues a gesture as an insult, only for the situation to resolve in laughter and a shared girlish camaraderie, a memory captured in a peal of laughter echoing across the plaza, captured even today by storytellers in drifting fireside tales. As the chief subtly encourages a resolution to any comedy-born conflict, you witness how humor often leads to not just embarrassment but connection, turning potential grievances into shared smiles and knowing nods. It becomes apparent that the thicker the social web, the greater the chance for laughter to bridge those strands. Imagine the elders, a collection of seasoned widows and grey-haired warriors, peering over the scene with expressions of bemused amusement. Their nods carry the weight of wisdom earned over years of similar observations. And you, there amidst the fragrance of thick floral garlands, hear their softly murmured stories, tales of courtships past where grace met folly in equal measure. Then there is the inevitable intercession of nature, the comic relief of a particularly bold squirrel perhaps, which decides to take part in the spectacle. You watch as it scurries across the ceremonial grounds, causing a neural flicker along the crowd, heads turning to track its progress, inadvertently stealing a suitor's spotlight, and rendering the moment a comedic memory that would echo far beyond the day's end. Because if you look closer, you too see the twinkle in the eye of the chief's chosen advisors. There was an unspoken understanding that these rituals were not just about the cementing of social contracts, but also about the sharing in the human condition and spirit where frustration, nerves, and jittering heartbeats culminated in a sort of dance that even the most serious of chiefs couldn't help but cherish and enjoy. The rich tapestry of these traditions shows that the Mississippian societies thrived not only on conflict resolution and ritual solemnity, but also on good humor and the subtler notes of interpersonal comedy. Remember these moments, for they're not merely side stories, but threads that weave seamlessly through the tapestry of leadership, the ability to process, to laugh, and to grow together. As you stand back and watch, you sense how these rituals and their associated humor cut through the tension, smoothing the road to unity, best laid by gentle jest and well-timed chuckles. The cool breeze brushes against your skin, carrying with it a soft sigh of relief as you step into the bustling world of Mississippian fashion, where the chiefs reigned not just in power but in trend. The sun, now mellow, casts a golden hue over the vibrant fabrics, and the soft percussion of the weaving looms echoes around you. Picture yourself amidst their world, surrounded by colors as bold as their decisions, intricate patterns on garments that whispered of hidden meanings and messages understood by few. In a sea of envious eyes and murmurs of admiration, the feathered headdresses bobbing above the crowd drew your gaze, capturing the essence of authority, humorous in its excess and extravagance. The chiefs embraced their role as fashion icons with a zeal often reserved for the sacred. Layer upon layer of symbolism adorned their attire. Yet the keen eye could spot the humour stitched into their garments, an extra feather here, signifying nothing more than a cheeky nod to an ongoing rivalry, or exaggerated neckpieces that seemed to mock the rigidity of formality with their sheer impracticality. You see, fashion was both an expression of power and an opportunity for chiefs to take themselves a little less seriously, offering themselves as breathing, striding punchlines to the stories they told. As you weave through this gathering of vividly attired figures, imagine the sound of laughter entwined with the swish of fabrics. Indeed, at the heart of this flamboyance was an underlying jest that satire remembered well, a sort of medieval couture comedy, where one's wardrobe told as much about one's alliances as it did about one's sense of humour. Fashion had its failures too. You might find a chief striding forward regally, only for the tail of his feathered headdress to snag on an unfortunate branch, or the errant resewing of a ceremonial sash to come unravelling in a flurry of overly enthusiastic dance. These occurrences, trivial as they were, allowed a sliver of levity to enter the formal atmosphere, drawing snickers swiftly cloaked by the kick of a drum. Historians still argue whether the overly elaborate regalia was an intentional self-parody of excess or merely a result of creativity running wild, unbridled by practicality. Nonetheless, these sartorial spectacles became part of the identity of the chief's fodder for gossip, commentary, and delight across Mississippian society. Consider the skilled artisans tasked with creating these pieces, those who knew, with a conspiratorial wink, exactly where to hide their playful touches. In their hands, beads became stories, patterned fabrics became verbal witticisms, and dyes mixed into hues as complex as the relationships they adorned. You'd hear them chattering, exchanging laughs, as they envisioned the chiefs attempting to navigate their domains in all their grandiose attire. Within this fusion of function and frivolity, the chiefs found ways to project humour and humanity, building camaraderie not just among themselves, but with their subjects. Children particularly found endless delight in attempting to mimic these grand, figureless little ones toddling with makeshift headdresses and oversized tunics, imagining themselves in their elders' extravagant shoes, giggling as they tripped over their own pretensions. Despite potential for mishaps, the fashion became not a burden, but a Bacona way for chiefs to diffuse tensions, invite laughter, and remind their people of shared joys. The grand tales weren't just spun from long speeches in council huts, but often found their beginnings in a chuckle drawn from a particularly absurd costume choice. Every feather told a story, and every garment was a canvas upon which chiefs fashioned not only their standing but also the lighter shades of their personality. Remember these images as you drift through the woven complexity of their lives, where fashion was not just an extension of themselves, but a vessel of communication, an art form alive with humour spreading like the laughter of those who witnessed it. The sounds of drums echo softly around you as you find yourself on the outskirts of a vast ceremonial field, where the air tingles with the electric anticipation of competition. The exactness of the grass underfoot, flattened from the recent flurry of activity, contrasts with the unpredictability of what is about to unfold. You stand surrounded by the boisterous energy of a gathering crowd, all eyes trained on the open space where chiefs and warriors are preparing for an age-old spectacle of skill, prowess, and unexpected humor. The ceremonial games of the Mississippian chiefs were not just about honoring tradition or demonstrating power, they were also a test of wit and whimsy. As you keenly observe, you notice the playful jabs exchanged between competitors already. It starts with quick quips, light-hearted jests that bounce off each warrior like pebbles off a shield, warming everyone up for the competition as well as for the laughs sure to follow. In no time, you're witnessing feats of strength and agility, each one accompanied by the occasional mishap that elicits roars of laughter. Imagine a skilled archer misgauging his aim when distracted by an errant squirrel or a sprinter, triumphantly reaching the finish line, only to realize he's wearing his ceremonial moccasin on the wrong foot. These naturally comedic incidents, a part of the larger scene, bring a shroud of lightness to what might otherwise be a solemn occasion. Ceremonial games often mirrored the paradoxical play of balance and imbalance found in life itself. The laughter that erupted from an unplanned tumble or a tangled spear throw was, in essence, a reflection of the resilience and joy found in human imperfection. Chiefs, in their full regalia, often found themselves at the heart of these comedic moments, whether it be running their races or offering pacifying quips from the sidelines. Picture the chief himself, slightly flushed from a previous activity, wiping sweat from his brow as he chuckles at the antics of his people. Perhaps he recalls his own similar experiences from seasons past tales of games where a misplaced step earned a season's worth of jest, or an ill-fated attempt at ladder climbing left him dangling ignominiously for all to see. Historians still argue whether these comedic elements were intentionally woven into the tapestry of such events, or if they arose naturally from the over-enthusiastic displays of valor. However, it is undeniable that these moments provided much-needed levity and camaraderie, drawing the community together in shared joy and remembered laughter. As you watch, a new event unfolds, a tug-of-war over a pit of mud, or perhaps an impromptu dance-off initiated by the rhythm of drums where the goal seems to be more about eliciting laughter than triumph. Chiefs often personally oversaw these games, ensuring not just fairness but also the inclusion of playful elements that encouraged community bonding. And if a particularly stubborn warrior, wrapped too tightly in his pride, refused to budge from a point of seriousness, it wasn't long before a cheeky nudge from a chief could convert stoic resolve into a reluctant smile. The games became a stage where humor served as a powerful equalizer, bridging gaps between varying status and age, all under the chief's watchful yet mirthful eyes. In these gatherings, cheer and jest decorated the event like a garland, infusing the ceremonial with light-hearted banter and playful gestures, reminding everyone that even in the heart of competition, laughter is often the greatest victory. You stand back, allowing yourself to relax into this world where seriousness and silliness intertwine seamlessly. Feel the atmosphere brimming with collective exhalations of joy and camaraderie, the scene casting chills over your arms despite the warmth of the day. As the final fanfare sounds, you recognize these games as not just a measure of lauded prowess, but also as chapters in a book of humor that these tribal communities penned together. As twilight descends, the tantalizing aroma of roasting meats and sizzling maize drifts toward you, welcoming you to the crescendo of today's pageantry, grand feast hosted by the Mississippian chiefs. The air is thick with the essence of charred wood and rich spices, creating an olfactory spectacle that teases your senses and leads you closer to a hearth ablaze with activity. Imagine the scene before you. Sprawling platters of food, each more lavish than the last, laid out on woven mats and sturdy wooden tables. The chiefs sit at the heart of this culinary carnival, their presence as commanding as the feast itself, yet their expressions softened by the warmth of community and the drinks that spark joy and loosen serious tongues into wide smiles. Even amidst such opulence, feasting in Mississippian society was far from a straightforward affair. Here's where the unexpected antics and culinary quirks often took center stage just when the grandeur of the event felt too sincere. In bounced the wave of laughter, unleashed by food-related mishaps, too delicious not to share. Picture a particularly determined chef, renowned for his elaborate dishes teetering on the boundary between culinary genius and confounding experiment. His pièce de résistance stew so famously aromatic and mysterious that, despite its surprising ingredients, everyone is curious to try. The crowd watches with bated breath as he unveils his latest creation, the contents of the cauldron revealed to be an audacious mix of flavors, including one particularly eyebrow-raising fruit, causing ripples of skepticism and mirth among those gathered. Of course, culinary success was never a guarantee. Historians still argue whether certain concoctions were intended as tongue-in-cheek tributes to the chief's innovation, or cautionary tales about unchecked ambition in the kitchen. Either way, the cheer these taste tests brought often made the gamble worth taking. As you wander among the tables, you overhear snippets of conversations, interspersed with bursts of laughter, hint of surprise here, a scandalized squawk there, accompanied by the characteristic clink of cups and bowls. If you draw close enough, you might witness a game born from these feasts themselves, guessing at spices or imitating flavors with exaggerated jest. turning potentially perilous, pre-tasting scenarios into beloved repertories of stories. Feasts were known also for their feast-focused faux pas. Imagine a chief, steadfast in his authority, now engaged in a struggle with a particularly resolute piece of gristle, his facade of dignity cracking into sly grins echoed by those around him. Yet, with every such hiccup, the laughter that followed was rarely out of malice and mostly steeped in camaraderie, shared acknowledgement of the folly that even the most august personages must occasionally endure. The feast was participant in creating memories designed to outlast even the most opulent entreateries told and retold around campfires, where echoes of these humorous happenings continued to wander the air long after the meal itself had faded into yesterday. Then there was the risk of snaring oneself in vine-like traces of chance, entertainmenta, rebellious fruit or gourd, erupting unexpectedly in laughter-inducing displacer, comedic interlude that threads a gathering of younglings, intent on catching overripe berries more effectively than the warriors nearby. The Mississippian chiefs took these moments in stride, their eyes dancing with unbidden delight as they savored not just the feast itself, but the tales it inspired. Humor became a regular spice dashed generously on top of every plate, flavoring the narratives that drew the community together. Step back from the scene, allowing the warmth from the fires and the mirth from the crowd to wash over you. In this ebb and flow of structured celebration disrupted by the spontaneity of humor, you find yourself understanding this truth. The Mississippian chiefs didn't merely lead with authority, they led with laughter, clothed in camaraderie, as nourishing as the feast's finest fare. Here, under the laughing stars, food was not simply sustenance, but also a story, a fabric woven tightly with comedy, camaraderie, and community. With the feast but a fading warmth in your memory, you find yourself drawn to a place of quiet reverence, where the low chanting of voices hums like bees on a summer afternoon. Welcome to the sacred spaces of the Mississippian tribes, where soaring mounds cast long shadows and the air vibrates with the echo of ritual. This is a realm where the chiefs oversee the passage of tradition, where solemnity reigns, but where a hint of humor sometimes sneaks in, the unexpected guest welcomed by knowing smiles. As you wander closer, you see the faithful gathered in ceremonial garb, the eager anticipation in their eyes reflecting flickering torchlight. The scent of smoldering sage fills your lungs, and you feel the vibrations of drums thrumming through the ground in a heartbeat rhythm. Rituals here bind community with the spiritual world, with every uttered word and deliberate gesture breathing life into long-held beliefs. Yet even the most sacred moments occasionally find themselves touched by the gentle hands of humor. You notice a pair of youngsters at the fringes, trying desperately to mimic the elders' incantations. Their unintentionally exaggerated gestures draw an amused glance from a nearby priest, a spark of laughter breaking through layers of custom like sunbeams piercing clouds. The Mississippian chiefs understood that humor held an innate power capable of dispelling the weight of solemnity with the ease of a bird taking flight. Whether through the misplacement of an offering bowl that sends everyone on a light-hearted scavenger hunt, or the sudden intrusion of a wayward animal guided by a mischievous whim, these unforeseen interventions served to remind all present of the multifaceted nature of the human experience. Imagine the chiefs joining in these ceremonies, faces stalwart and resolute as they embody the image of divine interlocutors. Yet even they knew the value of a well-timed quipper whispered line to an elder that might generate a ripple of discreet laughter, reminding everyone that amidst the ethereal, Earth's humor plays its role. Historians still argue whether such moments of levity were calculated to enliven the spirit of the ceremonies, or simply the result of life's unpredictable nature asserting its presence. Whatever the cause, these instances offered a cherished reminder of humility, a gentle nudge of comprehension upon those whose minds might wander with unchecked dignity. As sacred dancers advance, performing movements taught by generations past, there's sometimes a playful misstep that transforms intricate choreography into accidental slapstick. You observe as the community's laughter merges seamlessly with the murmurs of prayer, creating a harmony that acknowledges both the human and the divine. It's within this mixture that many find solace, where laughter acts as a bridge, inviting everyone to cross from one realm to another effortlessly. On certain occasions, the simplicity of a ceremonial offering might bear inner jokes, long cherished by the initiated. An elder might smile at the erratic placement of corn kernels that spell out a message only a kindred eye would catch, turning the act of worship into a quiet chuckle shared by insiders with fond sideways glances. The chiefs, amid all of this, find themselves conducting a symphony of spirits and smiles, directing both solemn chants and subtle snark with poised expertise. They walk gracefully along the fine line, separating reverence from revelry, aware that both occupy sacred ground. As you step back, the solemn notes of ceremonial flutes drift past you, a timeless lullaby that soothes the pretense from the air. Each chuckle twined within the sacred reverberations serves its purpose, grounding participants in the here and now, lest they forget the simple joy inherent in celebration. Remember this, as you tuck these experiences safely into your collection of the humorous canon, they form the transient echoes of ceremony kept alive by laughter. Here, within this convergence of jest and sanctity, the Mississippian chiefs learned that embracing the cosmic comedy of existence held its own place in the pantheon of life, reminding one and all that within the solemn, a smile had its own hallowed space. As you drift deeper into the heart of the Mississippian world, you're drawn to a hub of lively exchange and vibrant interaction, the bustling market plaza. Here, the air is thick with the scent of ripe trading goods, an array of possibilities stretching as far as the eye can see. The cacophony of voices rises and falls like an orchestrated wave, accompanied by the symphony of bartering and bargaining that defines this crossroads of commerce. In this whirlwind of activity, the chiefs often played pivotal roles as overseers, ensuring that trade flowed smoothly and fairly. Yet, as you observe the fervent trade, it's evident that this space was not immune to folly, where unexpected humor found fertile ground amid the stacks of commodities and earnest haggling. Imagine traders from distant lands displaying their wares, their foreign accents dancing with the local tongue in an intricate ballet of negotiation. From colorful textiles and intricately carved figures to exotic animals and mysterious tonics, each trade item carries stories ripe with comedic potential. One merely has to witness the wide-eyed expression of a chief when presented with a particularly peculiar-looking item, as if seeing a creature of legend made manifest, to sense the humor stirring beneath the surface. To the side, a bustling trader enthusiastically promotes the miraculous properties of his wares with exaggerated gestures, drawing a keen crowd. When an unidentifiable fruit finds its way into unsteady hands, the ensuing confusion only serves to amplify the chuckles bouncing among spectators, curious testament to the span between expectation and reality. Even in these dealings, moments arise where a trade is made, not for necessity, but purely for the comedic story it might inspire back home. Picture a trader whose excitement at acquiring what he believes is a luxurious pelt dissolves into laughter when he realizes it's merely a cleverly dyed alternativino, less beautiful, but with a backstory laughter demands to tell. Historians still argue whether some of these humorous exchanges were deliberate acts of mirth or the accidental outcomes of earnest trade lost in translation. Whatever the origin, the laughter emerging from these interactions transformed the marketplace into a place of lively camaraderie rather than mere commerce. At times, a group of children delighted in the playful chaos that accompanied the tribe's bustling trade. They raced amongst the goods, enacting their own short-lived bartering games that often ended in laughter and bemusement, turning the plaza into an impromptu stage for innocent dramatics. In moments where traders grew too steeped in tension or competition, a quick-witted retort from the chief himself might diffuse the situation, sending ripples of mirth through the gathered masses. The ability to leverage humor as a tool for maintaining harmony exemplifies the deftness of leadership the chiefs displayed. Occasionally, the Quirks of trade introduced unexpected community celebrations, future feasts motivated by particularly fruitful exchanges, leading to nights where acknowledgements of successful barters turned into jest-worthy stories recounted over shared meals under starlit skies. Step away from the heart of the market, feeling the echoed notes of laughter vibrate through you, as they do through the corridors of time. These trading tales remind one that laughter, like the woven paths of commerce, connects us all, It weaves bonds tighter than any trade agreement and cements memories in the currency of joy. So, as you trudge away from the lingering fragrance of exotic spices and the bright hues of foreign silks, you're keenly aware that trade in the Mississippian culture was about more than goods. It was about stories acquired and laughter shared, both of which carried their own value on that, while not material, was invaluable nevertheless. Here, in these lively exchanges where objects changed hands, it was laughter that found permanence, binding the community in its warm embrace. In the thickening dusk of the Mississippian world, the energy of the market fades, but the rhythms of community life persist. You find yourself in a quieter corner of the settlement, where a different kind of exchange is taking place of words, gestures, and the inevitable mishaps that accompany dialogue in a landscape of diverse tongues and dialects. Communication, in the realm of the Mississippian chiefs, was an art form, painted with the colors of nuance and complexity. The vibrancy of languages interwoven here created an intricate mosaic, yet it wasn't without its flaws. As you observe, you notice that amidst the eloquent exchanges, laughter frequently erupts as a byproduct, seeping into cracks left open by misinterpretation and misunderstanding. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a gathering where a chief, poised with the gravity of his role, is addressing a delegation from a distant land. The scene is steeped in solemnity, but the mood is lightened by a well-intended phrase, slightly misplaced, or a gesture that unfolds with unexpected cultural connotations, leading to chuckles from those gathered. Such moments, while unplanned, fostered an environment where patience met humor, where learning was a shared experience seasoned by the sting of irony. A slip of the tongue or an accidental misphrasing easily transformed into enduring anecdotes that reminded the speakers that mastery was as fluid as the languages they wielded. You hear a nearby storyteller weaving a tale of such verbal adventure, diplomatic mission turned comedy, where a phrase meant to invite friendship ended up hilariously proposing a trade in goats by accident. The laughter this evokes becomes a part of the story itself, an echo reverberating through time as a reminder of the humility language demands. Historians still argue whether these frequent miscommunications result from linguistic evolution or are remnants of rivalries preserved within the inconsistency of oral histories. What remains unchallenged is the idea that, through these comedic lapses, communities learn to navigate the labyrinth of language with resilient humor, an invaluable lesson in interconnectedness. Even the chiefs themselves, often seen as adept communicators, occasionally found their words leading to unintended punchlines. You might spot a chief chuckling alongside his peers, recalling an errant statement that spiraled into an unforgettable, albeit slightly embarrassing, folktale. In some instances, these language blunders sparked impromptu debates that disguised their serious intent beneath the guise of satire, inviting keen listeners to discern intent wrapped in clever laughs. A chief well-versed in these linguistic acrobatics would navigate from instruction into anecdote effortlessly, turning even serious discussion into light-hearted banter. Children, ever-present learners, would mimic the laughter-laden tales they'd overheard, turning even their play into a venue for educational jest. You notice a group reenacting a famously bungled negotiation, their exaggerated performances a testament to how humor could transform history into a living, learning fiction. You watch as the evening wears on, and the sky above paints itself with stars. In moments such as this, where language becomes a playground and not a battlefield, you realize that these exchanges go beyond simple communication. They capture the essence of community resilience and connectivity found in the shared joke. As you step back, feeling the cooling night air fold around you, a quiet revelation unfolds. The Mississippian chiefs, by embracing linguistic missteps as opportunities to laugh, shaped a culture that valued amusement alongside awareness. Here, in this constellation of words and wonders, you understand that it was not just the messages delivered, but the laughter shared that truly united them, weaving a tapestry of understanding that traces as long as the stories themselves. The deepening night welcomes a fresh breeze as you wander further into the corridors of influence and intrigue where power was both a cloak and a tool, wielded with a subtlety befitting the Mississippian chiefs. Politics in this ancient society was a nuanced dance, intricate and as fragile as the spider's web, yet sometimes punctuated with moments that brought laughter echoing through the halls of authority. You pause to envision a council meeting gathered beneath the canopy of a great mound, the air heavy with anticipation. The chiefs sit among their advisors, each face reflecting the intensity of their discussions. Decisions weighed here affect the lives within and beyond their immediate horizon, and while the stakes are undeniably high, humor tends to find its way into these proceedings, turning gravity into a light-hearted jest. Imagine a chief renowned for his eloquence and wit. As he delivers a seemingly impassioned speech regarding territorial boundaries or resource allocation, there's an intentional pause, a dramatic sweep of his arm, and a wry smile playing at the corners of his mouth. The room shifts subtly, tension lifting, as a playful quip on his opponent's peculiar attire releases pent-up energy in collective chuckles. Politics, as observed here, is an arena not just of strategy and negotiation, but of personality. The ability to diffuse a contentious debate with humor was as valuable as any strategy. A timely jest, deftly slipped within serious discourse, ensured that disagreements might spiral into dialogue rather than discord. Step closer, and you'll notice that laughter acts as a leveler in this sphere, uniting the wisest of elders and the most energetic of youth. Even amidst heated discussions, the slip of a tongue leading to an unfortunate double entendre may transform anger to amusement in a split second, dissolving contention into commiseration. Historians still argue whether humor was a tool deliberately sharpened for political maneuvers or simply a natural coping mechanism for the pressures of leadership. Regardless of its origins, it served a definite purpose, reminder that even the fiercest debates weren't immune to the universal truth of fallibility. Consider a scene where two chiefs, engaged in a lively negotiation over trade routes, suddenly find themselves embroiled in a semantic mix-up that brings the entire council to laughter, perhaps a minor miscommunication, that translates to an accidental proposal for shared labor in a particularly unseemly matter. These accidental comic interludes become like unwritten passages in the political memoirs, shared generously whenever the community gathered for communal feasts. The role of humor in politics fostered a sense of resilience and unity, infusing some humanity into the formalities of governance. Even the smallest jest, when shared during these pivotal meetings, acts to remind those present of their common bonds, softening the sharp edges of political division. Further along, you hear whispers from the edges of the council advisors exchanging quips as they navigate their chief's intentions, their quiet mock battles interspersed with affectionate jibes. There is strategy in this, a way to test ideas without the burden of formality, strategic brainstorming with the added benefit of laughter's soothing balm. Children peeking from hiding spots try to imitate these scenes, their playful interpolations rendering the complexity of politics into farcical yet insightful performances. These mock debates teach the budding minds not only the substance of leadership, but its subtle artistry. The balance of gravitas with the levity only laughter knows how to deliver. As you draw back from these gatherings, the echo of shared mirth trails you like a playful melody in the night breeze. Here, laughter doesn't merely punctuate politics, it shapes it, bringing the community closer together. Through the lens of these humorous political exchanges, you grasp an enduring truth. While political power can divide, it is laughter that ultimately unites, weaving a bond stronger than any decisive speech or serious conclave, reminding all engaged that leadership is sometimes best expressed in echoes of shared joy and jest. As dawn breaks, lending its golden hue to the vibrant world of the Mississippian tribes, you find yourself amidst the intricate and occasionally amusing web of interpersonal relationships spun under the watchful eyes of the chiefs. In this community where connection is paramount, chiefs often found themselves inadvertently playing the role of unlikely matchmakers, a role that, while not officially recorded, was written in the subtle exchanges they navigated like seasoned weavers. Picture a setting where elders sit in a semicircle beneath the sprawling branches of a venerable oak, a discussion that outwardly speaks of alliances and political unity, but hums with unspoken possibilities of personal unions as well. The chiefs, with an air of knowing discretion, guide these conversations, weaving wit and wisdom together as deftly as they braided their hair. It is in these gatherings that the seeds of unintended matchmaking are sown, often fertilized with a humorous touch. Consider a chief who struggles to keep a straight face while listening to a young warrior stuttering through his intentions, unaware of the matchmaking currents swirling around him. The chief knows that a gentle push, camouflaged as an opportunity to impress, or an innocent invitation to join a larger endeavor, might guide this young warrior into the path of an equally hesitant partner. It's a situation historically ripe with comedic potential, where love and laughter intertwine with deception and decision-making. Enter a scene where two younger members of the tribe find themselves repeatedly volunteering for the same communal tasks. Their initial fumbling encounters, peppered with nervous laughter and blushing glances, mirror countless similar paths trudged by generations before. It only takes a raised eyebrow or a knowing nod from the chief to stoke the embers of awareness shared between them, turning a possible conspiracy into a shared joke for years to come. Historians still argue whether Mississippian chiefs consciously applied their influence toward these playful matchmaking efforts, or if such outcomes arose organically from their naturally charismatic interactions. Regardless, the laughter that eventually erupted from these unions served to ease tensions and strengthen the community bond. Lifelong pacts, sealed more often than not with a shared smile as the ink. Of course, not every match resulted in perfect harmony. There were the moments of unintended, albeit humorous, consequences, such as the implausible union of two people with nothing in common but the mutual bewilderment at their predicaments. These pairings, watched by the tribe with kind indulgence, proved that while chiefs might guide fates, they could not script them. Picture, if you will, a chief leaning over to whisper a sly comment to a fellow elder, their quiet chuckles spreading like ripples through the assembled crowd as the young couple realizes they've become subjects of gentle jest. In these remembered stories, people find warmth and laughter, their awkward beginnings always forming the prologue to happier, boastful retellings. Imagine an evening where a group of children, perhaps inspired by these light-hearted conspiracies, play at being matchmakers themselves. Their innocent enactments, full of exaggerated formality and laugh-inducing blunders, remind you just how deeply humor is rooted in the fabric of community, life even in aspects as profound as love. The day winds down, but before you, the Mississippian landscape continues its indirect matchmaking, an unintentional comedy orchestrated by serendipitous circumstance and shared humor. Here, the gentle hand of humor weaves through the fates of these tribespeople, turning hesitant youth into partners, forging alliances both personal and political, guided by the pressing rhythm of life itself. As you take a step back, you see clearly that in this world, matchmaking was an art painted as much by whimsy as by deliberation, and it is in the blend of laughter and love that the real partnerships were often cemented. In the tales told and retold, it is the laughter of the chiefs that leads the way, following the inescapable humor found in every heart's path. The sun now peaks over the horizon, casting a soft, warm light on a village that buzzes with the anticipation of movement. You stand before a scene that unfolds like a tapestry of organized chaos, where chiefs ready themselves for journeys far beyond their familiar surroundings. It's within these travels that humor often finds its way, accompanying the chiefs on adventures not just of terrain, but of unforeseen delight. You envision the preparations, carts being loaded with supplies, meticulously counted bundles of trade goods, and gifts thoughtfully selected, each item bearing a tag from an advisor's penmanship. The air hums with purpose, a playlist of bustling footfalls and spirited voices, punctuated by the occasional clatter of tools echoing through the crisp morning air. Picture the chiefs, grand figures of command now resembling precarious stacks of personal items as they prepare for their voyages. They stand adorned in travel gear that, while practical, occasionally boasts an exaggerated flourish, a cape that flutters like a flag of good humor, or a headdress that stubbornly insists on catching the breeze in the most inconvenient of ways. There's something undeniably comedic in the incongruity that even the most distinguished leaders encounter. As the journey begins, the procession sets off with much fanfare, the chief's entourage trailing like the tail of a jubilant comet. Historians still argue whether these travel expeditions invited humor through the unpredictability of the road, or through the chief's delight in the sheer absurdity of trekking across their expansive territories. Whatever the case, laughter was a frequent fellow traveler. Imagine them navigating unanticipated challenges, bridge in disrepair, for instance, or a river shallower than expected, reducing the proud crossing to a perplexed, splashy wade. It's not long before laughter ensues, undercutting the seriousness of their mission with buoyant camaraderie, as the chiefs cajole and commiserate with their attendants and the passing locals. Midway, you witness scenarios where language barriers, unfamiliar customs, or the eccentricities of a new land fosters moments of unexpected comedy. A detour leads the formidable procession into an unfamiliar village, where a curious local might offer a delicacy unknown to the travellers. The chiefs exchange glances as they gamely attempt to taste. The reactions a battle between maintaining diplomatic decorum and overcoming their taste buds' uprising. Onward along the dusty roads, improvisational stories unfurl around campfire seats more grandiose than the last. Chiefs share tales of past misadventures, their clever narrations stretching the truth into humour, with mischievous exaggerations cleverly woven in. Here, humour becomes the thin thread connecting the past to future destinations, all under the tapestry of the starlit skies. Consider an occasion where two chiefs confront an amusing disagreement about navigation and relying solely on the stars, the other on verbal hints received from a notoriously vague messenger. Their playful banter melts any potential tension into laughter and marks the lessons embedded in misdirection and mishap. Even the youngest members of the caravan partake in this comedy of errors, their boundless energy and exuberance sparking their own miniature adventures. You see them imitating the chiefs, staging mock journeys, with undersized shoes and comically dilapidated carts, their squeals of delight adding to the chorus of travel as they emulate the very humour to which they are witness. As the sun descends and paints a gentle glow upon the travellers, the road, now familiar, becomes a canvas brushed by the soft, trailing laughter of shared humanity. The terrain which once promised distant lands returns them home with tales rich in mishaps and mirth, forever woven into the tapestry of their leadership. Step back from the dust-touched caravan trail and immerse yourself in the realization that these journeys were more than mere ventures across geographic divides. They were explorations of humility, resilience, and above all with every misstep turned into a punch-linear testament to the high regard with which humour was held. Under the expansive cloak of the sky, laughter remains the true bearer of mist roads and merry travels, reminding all who embark that there's much to be cherished in the journeys within and beyond. As daylight stretches across the Mississippian landscape, illuminating the vibrant hue of clay and earth, you find yourself drawn toward a fascinating corner of the community, a place where creativity flourishes and humour delicately ripples across the surface, like the reflection of sunlit leaves on water. Welcome to the world of Mississippian art, where the hand of the craftsman brings humour to life through intricate designs and subtle witticisms. Visualize a circular clearing, surrounded by small workshops where the rhythmic tap of a sculptor's chisel and the low hum of a weaver's spindle spin stories upon stories into form. Within these artistic sanctuaries, the chiefs sit not as overseers, but as patrons and appreciators of the craft, their expressions revealing interest and amusement alike at the ingenious exploits of creativity surrounding them. Here, art is more than mere expression. It's a dialogue between the creators and those who view it. Humour takes its place amidst the symbolic, offering a chuckle to those intuitive enough to perceive it. The humorous flourishes discreetly tucked within ornate patterns and shapes. Imagine a potter, deft fingers coaxing a lump of clay into life, interspersing traditional shapes with playful exaggerations, a pot with eyes that comically bulge, or a handle that whimsically spirals into a tail. Artifacts like these, ranging from everyday items to ceremonial objects, held a dual purpose: practicality bound with storytelling. Historians still argue whether specific motifs were deliberate comic elements intended to entertain, or if humour was simply a byproduct of culture's irrepressible wit. Regardless, laughter peeks through each creation, a sly nod from artist to beholder. Consider how the artisans themselves, clustered in their workspace, exchange wry smiles and snippets of personal jokes, often using humour as their muse. The absence of words in their creations speaks volumes through the quirky carvings found on ceremonial masks, misfit beads strung deliberately out of order, or the whimsical postures of figurines with lopsided arms and expressive, exaggerated features. In the vivid center of creativity, the chiefs act as both custodians and collaborators, encouraging this playful expression. They understand that within their mandate to preserve culture lies the responsibility to nurture its playful side. On occasion, a chief might commission a piece and provide just the faintest hint of jest in the brief, challenging the artist to embed a touch of mirth in the final productor, knowing smile or playful battle scar, cleverly concealed amongst layers of tradition. You watch as a group of children hover eagerly, eyes wide with wonder at the clay creations that seem to whisper secrets only they can hear. With talks of ancient heroes and lumbering beasts, these young minds set to work, crafting legends in mud and clay, deriving amusement from their miniature worlds. These early attempts, touched with juvenile humor, mimic the skilled artistry they admire, ensuring the continuation of both craft and laughter. As the sun dips lower, casting long, dramatic shadows across the land, you notice the communal satisfaction glowing amidst the artists. Their creations now complete, the shared humor twinkles softly between them, setting the stage for new stories to emerge within the rhythm of their lives. Step back from this nexus of creation, carrying with you the realization that the humor embodied here isn't merely frivolous. It's a crucial element, interwoven with intent, breathing vitality into tradition. In each piece, the humor fostered by the Mississippian chiefs and their artists paints a vibrant picture of communal life that, while honoring its past, eagerly embraces the buoyancy that laughter brings. The day ends with the low hum of contented chatter as artisans, their humor-infused crafts in hand, retreat into the twilight. Here, within this cycle of creation and laughter, the art of the Mississippian society invites you to note the beauty of jest disguised within details, whispered across generations, and ultimately immortalized in the playful warmth of clay and carving. The stars are just beginning to twinkle against the indigo of the evening sky as you find yourself drawn to the soft glow of a fire's light, where the art of storytelling transforms the night into a canvas painted with words. Here, the Mississippian chiefs gather their people for an ancient tradition that has endured through time, the sharing of trickster tales, where humor and morals dance a delicate dance. Gathered around the fire's embrace, you watch as shadows stretch like curious listeners, while the storyteller, a cherished keeper of culture, begins. Their voice carries over the captivated audience, rising and falling like the flicker of flames, weaving tales of cunning, mischief, and wit. A hush descends over the assembly, broken only by the crackle of the fire and the occasional collective chuckle when the trickster's antics hit close to home. Trickster tales were an essential part of the Mississippian narrative tradition. These stories drew sharp lines of contrast between wisdom and folly, morality and immorality, all while threading humor through their fabric. The wily trickster creature, as unpredictable as the Mississippi's changing, course embodied the contradictions of human nature, teaching through laughter, even as they entertained. Picture a tale that unfolds amidst laughter, where the trickster, perhaps appearing as a coyote or ravenquite, literally outsmarts the unwitting, tricking them with riddles or playful deceptions. The audience around you shifts, nodding knowingly at the familiar tale that speaks as much to their ancestors as to their lives today. Laughter dances like the firelight, illuminating faces briefly before flickering back into mystery. Historians still argue about the origins of these tales, whether they were born from the cultural exchange along trade routes or naturally emerged from shared human experiences. Nonetheless, their effect endures, reminding the listeners that beneath life's surface lies humor to taunt and teach, both rival and companion. The chiefs, seated among the crowd, remain as intent as their people, discerning flowing lessons within cunningly clever acts. Their chuckles mingle with the children's, buoying the atmosphere with an interplay of respect and mirth. For even they, revered as leaders, must face the trickster's reminder that all minds, regardless of wisdom, are prone to folly's whims. The storyteller, animated and vibrant, conjures another chapter where the trickster, having overreached, falls victim to their own trap. This time the laughter is tinged with a gentle lesson, echoing approval that even the clever are brought to humility by their schemes. The tale gracefully crescendos to its moral conclusion, handing its laughter-wrapped lesson to those eager to hear it. Even the youngest members of the tribe, budding circles of understanding, absorb these lessons cloaked in amusement. By morning, their play will echo these storia. Trickster's realm realized through games, jokes, and jibes, where victory is fleeting and rules often rewritten on a whim. You observe how the chiefs acknowledge the power these tales hold, how they mold community thinking with a touch both light and profound. It is in laughter that respect is earned, and through humor that wisdom is imparted. Trickster tales remain a conduit, grounding the community in shared knowledge, passed down rich in jocularity and tradition. The night settles, absorbing the residual warmth of the fire and the laughter it ignited. As the storytelling concludes, leaving behind echoes of the trickster's laugh, you are left with an understanding. Here, within these stories, the chiefs foster a time-transcending culture of laughter that educates as it entertains. You walk away with your own imagination kindled by the trickster's cunninger figure, perpetually alive in the tales spun by time, its humor lingering on, shadowed in every smile and every whispered jest. Among the Mississippian people, this laughter ensures each new generation remembers, renews, and loves the art of life's humorous lesson, twined with truth in every tale told under starlit skies. The morning sun peers through a thin veil of mist, highlighting the vibrant colors of the Mississippian settlement as you find yourself at the heart of an enduring institution where fashion takes center stage. Within this community, chiefs are not just leaders, but also unofficial trendsetters, with the power to create and inspire even when their attempts sometimes result in the unexpected comedy of fashion mishaps. In this vivid tableau, the air is filled with anticipation as you witness artisans busily preparing elaborate garments for upcoming ceremonies and gatherings. The rustling of fabrics, the subtle sheen of beads catching light, and the sharp scent of dyes mingle in the air, culminating in a sensory symphony of color and creativity. Before you, a chief stands resplendent, enveloped in layers of textiles that testify to both status and taste. Their garb is an intricate mosaic of feathers, shells, and beads woven with stories, each element meticulously chosen to reflect the narrative of leadership. Yet, within the gravity of this splendor lies the potential for delightful fashion faux pas, where a grand gesture might lead to an unexpected chuckle. Imagine the chief stepping forward to greet a delegation, their trailing robes catching mischievously on a protruding root, prompting an ever-so-slight stumble that draws knowing smiles from both sides. The tension of the meeting dissipates as a ripple of laughter spreads, transforming the backdrop of solemnity with ease and grace, like sunlight piercing a cloud-covered sky. The fashion of Mississippian chiefs was a language unto itself, spoken with elaborate headdresses that soared skyward like plumes reaching toward infinity, each flirtation with excess bearing the possibility of humor. Historians still argue whether these extravagant displays served solely for adornment or declared the theatrical flair that inherent leadership required. Amidst this debate, however, the laughter that flutters between feathers can't be denied. Among the younger members of the tribe, the opportunity to mimic their esteemed leaders in sartorial choices offered endless entertainment. You see groups of children playing dress-up, donning oversized cloaks, and makeshift headdresses composed of mismatched odds and ends. The joyous squeals and pretend posture strutting mimic the age-old dance between reverence and recreation, a playful nod to the humor within the ceremony. Believe it or not, even the loftiest of chiefs occasionally found themselves entwined in their own designs. Perhaps a belt fastened a notch too snugly, or a cloak that caught an unexpected gust, leaving the wearer briefly engulfed in material, like a butterfly ensnared in a net. These moments were reminders that humility and humor walk hand in hand, turning potential awkwardness into cherished belly laughs shared among courtiers and subjects alike. Witness, too, how the artistic vision of the tribe's talented weavers, always encouraged to push boundaries, integrates humor with craft, illustrating scenes within patterns that guests might only notice long after they've admired the broader strokes. A tiny woven animal nestled in the hem, forever tumbling in place, captures the spirit of the trickster, reminding observers of the underlying whimsy in this fabric of life. As the sun climbs higher, its light illuminating the play of thread and dye, you watch as the chiefs prepare for the day's events, casting an air of regal gentility bolstered by their attires. It's a nod not just to tradition, but to the breadth of personality that allows for humanity and leadership, infusing the profound with the playful. Step back and let the morning scene envelop you, understanding that in these ceremonial garments, the past and present stitch together with humor as the faithful thread. Fashion, as revealed here, becomes more than an aesthetic. It is a dialogue capable of evoking smiles as broad as the robes that clothe the chiefs. In the end, the laughter inspired by these fashion experiences is as vital to the community as the garments themselves. Here, among the beadwork and the laughter echoing through time, is resilience and vitality imbued into the fabric of leadership, leaving traces of levity as vivid and lasting as the patterns themselves. As the sun dips lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and deepening blue, you feel drawn to a lively enclave within the community, where the sound of laughter and music fills the air. This is a place where the art of jest took form, a small realm within the Mississippian society, where court jesters, known for their sharp wit and comedic prowess, offered needed respite from the demands of ruling. In this vibrant setting, a blend of performers and spectators gather in a circle, the anticipation electric, as a character steps forward marked by exaggerated clothing and a playful look. The jester, adorned with bells that jingle softly with each movement, captures the audience's attention with ease, invoking a sense of whimsy that lingers like the notes of a song. The role of the jester in Mississippian culture was multifaceted and, at times, paradoxical. Charged with the delicate task of interjecting humor into serious matters, their antics provided not only entertainment, but also served as insight veiled in laughter. Through well-timed quips and physical comedy, they acted as mirrors to their audience, reflecting the absurdities of life with a mischievous grin. Imagine a chief seated amidst the crowd, their face a canvas of expectation turned amusement, as the jester begins a routine mimicking a recent council meeting. Artfully exaggerating gestures and words, the act sparkles with humor that turns the solemn into satire, prompting chuckles from even the most stoic faces. Historians still argue whether the jester's role was solely to entertain or if they wielded a subtle power to influence opinions and discussions. Regardless of this ambiguity, it's clear that within their jests lay kernels of truth-palatable perspectives that found acceptance under the protective banner of laughter. A particular scene unfolds where a jester performs an act that satirizes the complexity of trade negotiations, using hand gestures and mimicry to lampoon the process. As the performance unfolds, the audience roars with laughter. You can see an understanding shared between the jester and the chiefer, silent acknowledgement of wisdom disguised in comedy, capable of softening the sharp edges of political discourse. Closer to the edge of the performance space, children mimic the jesters with gleeful abandon, performing their own makeshift antics to an imagined audience. In their play, you see the seeds of future jesters who might carry forth this tradition of humor as both a tool for liberation and a bridge between generations. An ensemble of musicians accompanies the jesters, their instruments setting the tempo for comedic interludes and expressive routines. Dulcimers and flutes create a backdrop that underscore the rhythmic movementa, symphony of levity that elevates each jest to an art form of delightful nuance. The jesters enjoyed a unique relationship with the Mississippian chiefs. Through the openness that humor provides, they wielded the ability to touch upon taboos and challenge norms without fear. Their performances offered a cathartic release, a moment of shared humanity where all, regardless of rank, could partake in spontaneous expressions of mirth. As the performance draws to a close, and sounds of applause fill the air, the jesters take their leave with flamboyant bows. The echoes of laughter dissolve gently into the evening, leaving behind the impression of connection and understanding forged in the forge of jest. Stepping back with the scene slowly fading into twilight, you carry with you an appreciation of the court jester's role beyond mere entertainment. In the realms of power and tradition, these figures dared to inject necessary humor, a breath as vital as the air, capable of transforming tensions into smiles. In this intricate dance of solemnity and merriment, you come to understand the delicate balance maintained by the chief and the jester, where the boundaries of respect allowed for just enough space for humor to bloom. Here, under the gathering night, laughter becomes both legacy and gift, leaving traces of joy interwoven within the fabric of community spirit. As the moon climbs the velvet ladder of the night sky, Its silvery glow spills over the Mississippian village, casting long shadows that dance whimsically across the landscape. Within these shadows lies a quieter facet of life, the communication pathways where messages, intended to bridge distances, can often lead to unintended hilarity when misunderstood or misdelivered. Imagine standing at the heart of the bustling village, an observer of messages as they journey from sender to recipient, sometimes accompanied by jest and confusion. Picture the runners, swift and sure-footed, who weave through the throng, their sandals kicking up puffs of dust as they relay important words entrusted to them by the chiefs. In this world, without the aid of written language, messages are a tapestry woven of memory and interpretation, a process as vulnerable to human error as it is anchored by trust. This dependence on verbal communication serves as fertile ground for comedy, where a message might alter in its passage, much like a bird shifting course mid-flight. Consider a scene where a young messenger bursts into the chief's presence, his breath coming in hurried bursts as he delivers news of a supposed celebration. Yet, the original message, intended to speak of a successful trade agreement, has morphed in transit to suggest a festival of such peculiar nature that the chief cannot suppress a grin. The room echoes with laughter, turning potential frustration into shared amusement. In the currents of these incurred mistakes, the humorous side of humanity floats to the surface. Historians still argue whether some errors were accidentally comedic or interjected on purpose by clever messengers looking to inject levity into repetition. Regardless, such incidents often ease tensions, paving the way for stories of comical mishap to make their rounds in evening storytelling sessions. A chief, caught in the crossfire of one such jumbled message, might choose to play along, using wit to navigate the situation. Imagine the deliberate bemusement of a message, falsely bearing the suggestion of specific culinary requests, leading to an absurdly luxurious but unintended feast. It becomes the stuff of legend, a humorous foundation upon which future tales are built. At the edge of the village, children, both fascinated and mischievous, mimic the messengers they observe. In their innocent play, whispered words become outrageous misinterpretations, leading to gales of laughter as they learn the art of both receiving and delivering news in a way that best elicits a response. Occasionally, the chiefs themselves use humor as a communication tool, deliberately creating messages with an extra layer of jest, knowing that by the time they reach those intended, they will be an encore of laughter on arrival. This strategic levity builds bonds between leaders, sealing treaties not just in intent, but also in joy. A nearby courtyard holds storytellers weaving these events into entertaining narratives. Around crackling fires, the crowd hears of a renowned messenger who famously mixed up the date of a pivotal ceremony, leading a rival tribe to appear fashionably early and utterly unprepared. The tale finishes to an audience erupting in unified laughter. By the evening's end, the importance of communication stands clear. As you reflect on the day's unfolding, you come to appreciate the messengers and their role in crafting a humorous subtext within the web of tribal interaction. Here, within the seeming triviality of misunderstood missives, lies a gentle wisdom. There are, you realize, few better bridges of understanding than those grounded in laughter. Under the starlit canopy, with echoes of bygone laughter drifting on the breeze, the subtle reminders of charm and folly thread through the hills. It is a tapestry where comedy softly stitches the seams of dialogue, leaving behind smiles as bright and enduring as the stars that watched over these shared misadventures. The morning light filters softly through the sprawling canopy of trees, dappling the ground with patches of warmth that beckon you into the heart of the village's memory, where stories of hoaxes and pranks live on, whispered from generation to generation. It's here, among the laughter and gleeful nostalgia, that chiefs themselves occasionally found delight or dismay in the elaborate pranks woven into the very fabric of everyday life. Picture a scene of organized chaos as villagers prepare for a communal gathering, the air abuzz with a multitude of conversations, each contributing to the rising tide of sound and anticipation. The stage is set not just for merriment, but for the unexpected hilarity of well-placed practical jokes that can turn an ordinary day into one remembered for years to come. Mississippian culture, while steeped in reverence and authority, made room for the playful spirits who dared to introduce levity through pranks, some of which targeted even the most prestigious figures. Imagine a notorious trickster, respected and notorious for their cunning, setting a clever trap for an unsuspecting chief, whom they hold in high esteem, an act of daring that is equal parts admiration and mirth. Consider a scenario where the chief, in full ceremonial regalia, approaches the gathering with the gravity befitting their station. Just as they begin a formal address, a well-timed prank unfolds. A cluster of cleverly hidden objects spills forth from the folds of their robe, releasing a cascade of harmless but surprising items like feathers or seed pods. What might have been mortifying transforms into a shared joke, the chief's laughter joining the chorus of mirth that fills the air. Historians still argue whether these pranks were meticulously planned in cohorts or spur-of-the-moment actions by incorrigible jesters eager to see their handiwork celebrated by the tribe. Nevertheless, the light-hearted consequences of these hoaxes kept chiefs ever vigilant, knowing full well that the line between jest and respect is maintained by the balance of laughter shared. In a particularly well-known tale, two rival chiefs, finding themselves frequent targets of each other's schemes, decided to team up and prank a neighboring village in a gesture of mutual camaraderie. The tale, retold with ever-increasing embellishments, speaks to the remarkable ease with which humor can transform rivals into co-conspirators in merriment. At the edges of the gathering, you might discover young pranksters of the tribe, eyes wide with excitement as they plot their own small acts of mischief, inspired by the tales of their elders. Through laughter they learn the balance of jest and the understanding that pranks are the vines that carry the fruit of goodwill if tended with care. Some pranks, of course, carried unintended lessons. Reminder that in comedy lies an element of risk. In the aftermath of a prank that oversteps bounds, you see how the community gently guides these exuberant souls back. At the fringes of laughter, you learn the immense value the Mississippian chiefs placed on maintaining harmony, even in humor's realm teaching, woven into the very essence of the tribe's communal spirit. Occasionally, the court jesters, seasoned in the art of humor, lend their expertise to ensure that pranks tread the fine line between irreverent delight and respectful jest, using their own experiences as guideposts for younger generations. As the day draws to a close, the laughter that began with the day's pranks fades into leisurely conversation and storytelling interwoven with the vibrant colors of the sunset. One walks away from such gatherings with the understanding that these pranks, rich in joy and camaraderie, echo beyond their moment in time, endearing each chief to their people and each person to their story. The community, seen through the lens of trickery and laughter, reveals itself as resilient and enduring, with chiefs who play along, sharing in the humor as readily as they carry their responsibilities. With each tale whispered into night, you realize that the hoaxes and humor of these moments sustain the humanity of leadership, echoing through time like the softest footsteps on ancestral paths, ensuring each stride is accompanied by a chuckle. The vibrancy of the landscape catches the rising sun as a new day dawns, etching patterns of light and shadow across the land. You find yourself amidst the preparations for one of the community's most cherished traditions, a seasonal festival, where the Mississippian people gather to celebrate the passage of time and the renewal of life. These festivals, marked by feasting, music, and dance, become a fertile ground for joy and laughter, where humor takes its place alongside solemn ritual. Picture the colorfully decorated heart of the village, where banners made from woven reeds and brightly dyed fabrics flutter in the morning breeze. The air is infused with the rich aroma of food being prepared in open-air kitchens, the mingling scents promising an abundance of flavors that reflect the seasonal bounty. In the center of this activity stands a grand pavilion, a ceremonial space where chiefs preside over the festivities. Despite the gravitas of their roles, these leaders embrace the light-hearted spirit of the festival. Imagine the chiefs, decked out in elaborate attire that celebrates the fusion of nature and nurture, mingling with their people, their laughter as pure and vivid as the colors that adorn them. Festivals like these serve not just as celebrations, but as reminders of community resilience, born from the earth's cycles and rich in comedy. Within the structured rituals often emerge moments of spontaneous humor, perhaps a dance temporarily disrupted by a clumsy foot or a lively melody that prompts jesting improvisation among musicians. As the frolic of dances unfolds, you notice a group of people engaged in a traditional game, where teams compete in humorous tests of agility and wit. The chiefs themselves may take part, indulging in friendly competition, designed as much to entertain as to impress. Seeing a chief momentarily entangled in an elaborate footwork challenge could spark laughter that ripples through the gathered crowd, easing the boundary between leader and led. Historians still argue about the origins of some festival customs, whether certain games emerged purely from enjoyment or evolved as exercises in humility veiled in humor. In the end, it's the laughter drawn from these customs that persists, lending joy a timeless quality. The festival often plays host to theatrical performances, where teams of performers enact tales that parody daily life, inducing laughter through exaggerated characters and absurd scenarios adorned with echoes of friendly satire. These enactments, supported and encouraged by the chiefs, allow participants to explore societal norms through comedic narrative, bringing communities closer through shared mirth. Children, with bright eyes mirroring the vitality of the festival, craft miniature versions of the festivities, mimicking the adults in both game and dance, eager to understand both the spirit of celebration and the humor seamlessly woven throughout. In their innocence lies the foundation of future gatherings, built on stories infused with the same laughter they experience today. As the festival continues into nightfall, vibrant sounds and colors merge with the darkness. The humor shared under moonlit skies becomes a balm of unity, acknowledged by chiefs with a raised glass or a whispered jest, reminding everyone of the abundant joy derived from togetherness. In these moments, step back and observe how humor during festivals ochres the experience like embellishments on woven fabrics. Here, you realize the infinite value this laughter holds, transcending the day-to-day struggles and empowering a community through mutual enjoyment and reflection. It reaffirms bonds, celebrates shared history, and infuses life with resilience and joy. As stars emerge one by one, the laughter from the festival continues to linger on the breeze, an ethereal reminder that in the rhythm of life's seasons, celebrating together in humor is one of the treasures that bind the community. From dawn to dusk and beyond, the cultural tapestry shines with the richness of laughter constant among the changing seasons, etched into the legacy of the Mississippian chiefs as they guide, rejoice, and join in the circles of life. The sun dips towards the horizon, casting a gentle glow over the earth as you wander into the familial heart of the Mississippian society, where the playful chaos of childhood unfolds in all its delightful unpredictability. Here, nestled among the mounds and dwellings, the children of the chief's future leaders in their own right play and learn amidst the watchful yet amused eyes of their parents. In this vibrant tableau, you observe the young ones as they imitate the responsibilities of leadership with a comedic twist. The warmth of the day carries their laughter across the fields as they engage in their own version of council meetings, complete with grandiose gestures and the kind of exaggerated seriousness that only the young can muster. Their decisions often lead to hilariously unexpected outcomes, which elicit smiles and knowing glances from the adults nearby. Imagine a scene where a child, draped in an oversized, intricately decorated cloak borrowed from a ceremonial chest, declares a new game for the others to follow. The cloak, never meant for hasty movement, tangles about their feet, sending them into a joyful heap of laughter, quickly joined by their peers. It's in moments like these that you see the weave of tradition and humor form the fabric of their youthful days. Children, like tiny echoes of their elders, learn about leadership through play guided by both formal instruction and the whims of imagination. Under the watchful eyes of the chiefs, they explore boundaries and discover the strength of community, often with humor serving as the unseen hand that gently guides their play. Historians still argue how much influence chiefs exerted over these playful encounters, and whether deliberate lessons were woven into the tapestry of youthful fun. Nevertheless, the laughter echoing across the fields suggests that humor is a bridge that spans generations, imparting wisdom through jest and folly. Consider the endless creativity of these children as they invent games based on the tales spun by storytellers around flickering fires the night before. They enact their own versions of trickster tales, where every stick becomes a sword and every mound a castle scenarios, filled with mischievous twists and turns that end in peals of laughter. The chiefs, observing from the sidelines, understand that these youthful antics harbor the seeds of diplomacy, negotiation, and community building. They see the value in allowing their children to make mistakes that will soon sow future wisdom. Even the most stubborn faux pas is reframed by laughter, a lesson in humility embraced through humor's comforting lens. In this lively microcosm, even the simplest tasks can take on the significance of ritual. Imagine a group of children tasked with distributing snacks during a festival, their procession more comical relay than ceremony, grains and fruit exchanged with the erratic elegance of a well-intentioned but wayward event. Such moments, though often disorganized, capture the light-hearted spirit inherent in these daily rites of passage. As the sky darkens, drawing a blanket of stars over the village, you see how shadows lengthen, transforming the bustling scene into a haven of calm. The children's laughter mellows into quiet murmurs, stories shared and pondered, sometimes answered with deliberate absurdity that eases them into dreams. Step back from the scene, and you sense how the chiefs wield the gentle power of humor in shaping their young ones' experiences. Within this alchemy of play and learning, jokes become teaching tools, gently coaxing understanding of complex ideas in approachable forms. Amidst the expanse of time, you realize the paramount role of humor in raising a generation ready to embrace leadership supported by laughter that echoes beyond the present, anchoring the promises of tomorrow. Even as the village prepares for rest, the stories, smiles, and shared laughter remain indelibly printed on hearts and minds, a testament to the playful spirit that guides each child toward their explorative future. In this twilight realm, you walk away, entwined with the understanding that laughter, like the constellations of beliefs above, illuminates the path of the young, forever twinkling in the shared journey of growing, learning, and leading. The night enshrouds the Mississippian village, the deep blue sky dotted with stars, revealing the mysteries of the cosmos overhead. As you journey deeper into this nocturnal world, you find yourself approaching the clandestine gatherings of secret societies, those mystical enclaves where rituals are imbued with an aura of solemnity and hidden meanings are explored. Yet, even amid secrecy, humor sometimes tiptoes in, adding an unexpected dimension to these hushed gatherings. Imagine the assembly of initiates and seasoned members as they gather under the canopy of night, their path lit by torches offering flickering halos of light. These societies, entrusted with guarding sacred knowledge, embark on their ceremonial practices with unwavering focus. Yet even here, humor occasionally weaves itself into the fabric of ritual with surprising grace. Consider a scene where the youngest initiate fumbles through a memorized incantation, the words tumbling out in a jumble of syllables. The surrounding elders, solemn in their roles as keepers of profound mysteries, exchange amused glances, allowing a ripple of gentle laughter to stir through the ranks. This allowance for humor reveals a simple truth. Humanity's complexity is such that even in the pursuit of enlightenment, laughter finds its place. These secret societies often practiced elaborate rituals involving symbolism and intricate gestures. Picture a moment when the precision of such a ritual inadvertently gives birth to humor. Perhaps an object meant to remain fixed in place teeters, defying gravity with impish persistence, eliciting smiles from the circle before its stability is gently restored. Historians still argue whether the humor within these sacred spaces was an intended balance to counterweight their seriousness, or if it emerged naturally, a subconscious harmonic within the group's dynamic. Nonetheless, laughter here seemed to complement the contrast, an understanding that wisdom need not travel a path devoid of levity. Within the carefully orchestrated mystery of each meeting, certain rituals invite deliberate exaggeration, testing the participants' ability to maintain composure. A playful challenge might be issued by a senior member, whose deadpan delivery contrasts with the absurdity of the task, contributing to shared mirth veiled in mystical intent. As you observe these gatherings from a cautious distance, you see how the humor willingly enters specific rites and passages, breathing life into words, motions, and symbols that could otherwise risk becoming rote through routine. This merging of reverence and humor strengthens bonds between members, where laughter becomes an assurance of collective spirit and shared understanding. Beyond the immediate circle, whispers of these humorous moments reach the wider community, carried via initiated tales that, while careful to guard secrecy, celebrate the joy woven into the society's fabric. These stories nurture an appreciation for the layered complexity of such hidden gatherings, hinting at the rich tapestry tightly knit with shadow and light. The children of the village invariably play at embodying the mystery of these societies, their own closed circles marked by secret handshakes and exaggerated performances, laced with pretend solemnity, followed swiftly by eruptions of giggles. In their mimicry lies the promise of future knowledge, cultivated through familiarity with both earnest tradition and the laughter it sometimes births. As you step back from this intersection of the sacred and the playful, the night sky remains your constant companion, reflecting the infinite pattern of life's mysteries and joyful discoveries. Within these secret gatherings, leaders learned that acknowledging imperfection with humor brought strength to the circle, uniting intentions with the laughter that acknowledges fallibility. Here, beneath the celestial tapestry, you realize the Mississippian chiefs curate spaces where intellect and humor coexist in the sacrosanct. Through shared jest, they ensure the continuity of understanding between generations, safeguarding not just the knowledge of how to lead, but also the wisdom of knowing when to laugh. It is this balance that maintains the circle whole, echoing with laughter as steadfast as the stars above. As dawn breaks once more over the expanse of the Mississippian world, a gentle melody floats through the Ira, symphony of voices and instruments carried like a whispered promise on the morning breeze. You find yourself drawn into the heart of the community where music reigns supreme, its rhythm a vital heartbeat for everyday life, and its verses are often sprinkled with humor that lightens the heaviest of burdens. Picture the village waking, where musicians and singers gather in circles, their instruments forming a motley medley of strings, drums, and flutes. The melodies they conjure sway between solemn and spirited, reflecting the vibrant spectrum of human experience. It is here, in the interplay of sound and silence, that humor finds a harmonious place amidst the crescendos and verses. In this lively environment, you notice musicians exchanging playful words and gestures, often teasing one another between performances. Jokes disguised as compliments fly back and forth, accompanied by the chuckles of a well-practiced camaraderie that keeps time with the tapping feet of an appreciative audience. Imagine a moment where a chief, seated at the center of this melodic turmoil, is unexpectedly called upon to contribute. Amidst good-natured jeers from the ensemble, they take up the call, perhaps with a simple drumming accompaniment, or even bolder, a rendition of a song cherished by the people. While their musical skill may vary, the attempt itself is a note of humor, a playful reminder that leadership and laughter harmonize even in unfamiliar pursuits. Historians still argue over the influence music had over leadership dynamics, whether it was used as a strategic tool or arose naturally as an integral facet of cultural expression. Yet the laughter it inspires, when a note is missed or a lyric is swapped for something hilarious, remains a testament to its power bridge between the profound and the personal. Imagine next a ceremony where a band plays a familiar tune, reimagined with a twister rhythm altered, or lyrics infused with local jest, igniting bursts of amusement among listeners. It's a moment where tradition vibrates with humor, and the familiar delivered anew wraps itself around the heart in buoyant embrace. You can see how children, never ones to miss an opportunity for joy, turn these melodies into game-sclapping and stumbling rhythmically as they craft songs of their own, enticing laughter with every out-of-tune chorus spontaneously composed. They chant and mimic the sounds, crafting mini-concerts that sway erratically from sheer delight to unplanned harmony. As musicians share their tunes, touched with humor's grace, the chiefs understand how music strengthens cultural continuity, reinforcing the values of joy and connection. They support these gatherings, knowing laughter stays long after notes dissolve into silency and echoing hymn binding past with present. In quietude, step back and absorb the music as it floats and swirls around you. Its presence embeds itself in the soil, leaves, and sky, an ongoing cycle of melodies that capture life's cadence. Within each note, laughter finds a home, blending seamlessly with every tune, every rhythm laid down. As dusk approaches, the laughter inspired by music still reverberates, a gentle reminder of its deep-seated presence within communal life. Through song, dance, and jest, the village continues its journey, poised between the sun's rise and fall, cradled by the rhythm that knits together every chuckle and chat, encapsulating the essence of the Mississippian spirit. As strains of music fade into the twilight, you realize that much like the harmony between notes, laughter underlies the foundation of this community. It carries the wisdom of generations past and present into the futura, melody of resilience, shared and celebrated under each day's new horizon. The evening sky is a sea of stars as you find yourself drawn into the heart of the Mississippian village, where the unspoken rules of camaraderie and comedy are as vital as the air you breathe. This is a place where society operates on a delicate balance between tradition and unspoken understanding, governed by rules that invite the sly insertion of humor to lighten even the weightiest burdens. It is within this cultural fabric that the unwritten rules of humor subtly guide interactions, a silent slipstream, known to all yet codified by none. You feel the shared knowledge of these guidelines as you wander through the bustling tapestry of the community, where laughter spills over conversations and mingles with the soft glow of evening fires. Imagine the scene before you, where groups of people gather in animated discussions, their exchanges punctuated by laughter that rises and falls like the flicker of flames. In their midst, a beloved storyteller holds court, spinning tales laced with familial in-jokes and cultural references that draw knowing nods and appreciative guffaws from the assembled audience. It is within this sphere that you sense the invisible boundaries of humor, understood by all through years of shared stories and experiences. In Mississippian society, humor acts as a social lubricant, fostering bonds and diffusing tension with an ease that formal language often fails to achieve. Historians still argue just how much of this comedic interplay was calculated and how much arose spontaneously, but there's no denying that laughter was a social glue, binding people together in ways both seen and unseen. Picture a chief amid these gatherings, adept at navigating the unwritten rules with the skill of a seasoned diplomat. They wield humor not as a weapon, but as a tool for unity, choosing precisely when to inject a quip into a debate or exchange a light-hearted jab with an advisor, diffusing potential discord with deftness and grace. Consider, too, the young members of the tribe who learn these rules gradually, often through trial and delightfully public error. Imagine a child delivering a punchline slightly out of place, their earnestness met with indulgent laughter as they grasp the lesson in timing and tact. These moments, though fleeting, are foundational, wrapping every comedic misstep in understanding and acceptance. From casual gatherings to ceremonial events, humor often follows unspoken cues that guide its expression, never too sharp, never too caustic, always intended to elevate and connect rather than divide. Even the occasional roasting of a revered figure proceeds with love, underscored by a shared understanding that respect remains intact beneath the hilarity. In larger gatherings, competitions of wit sometimes unfold. Informal duels where participants engage in verbal fencing matches, their ripostes swift and precise, yet always grounded in mutual respect and shared laughter. It's in these exchanges that you see the unwritten rules manifest most vividly, an exercise in creativity, noting the dance between jest and restraint. Step back with an appreciation for this nuanced interplay of humor, where the Mississippian chiefs excel in turning laughter into a cornerstone of culture. Through embrace of these unspoken codes, they reinforce connections, even as jest weaves through dialogues as naturally as the breeze. You carry with you the understanding that these unwritten rules do more than sustain humor. They sustain community, enveloping each interaction in warmth, ensuring laughter remains a friend, a confidant, and a faithful companion in the remarkable journey through life. With each shared chuckle and bemused grin, the fabric of society remains whole, unravaged by time and tied unbreakably by knowing smiles and the bonds of collective joy. In the quiet embrace of the night, beneath a blanket of stars, you realize the enduring power of laughter, dictated not just by the words spoken, but by the silences in between. In this rich legacy, humor thrives, unwritten yet well understood, the silent testament to unity, resilience, and the deep-seated humanity that endures across the ages. As the sun rises over the intricate mounds and pathways of the Mississippian village, you are drawn to the perimeter of the bustling community, where the landscape stretches out in rippling waves of green. Here, under the open sky, the art of diplomacy unfolds a realm that, while steeped in negotiation and formality, is not immune to the comic relief of human folly. It is in these diplomatic missions that humor sometimes emerges unexpectedly, turning stumbles into smiles and tension into camaraderie. Consider the scene as you watch a group of emissaries prepare for their journey. Draped in garments reflecting the honor of their mission, they carry offerings and messages intended to bridge the spaces between rival communities or distant allies. Each step of the way is calculated with care, yet beneath the solemnity lies the potential for laughter, waiting to surface in a moment of inadvertent levity. Picture a caravan making its way along a well-trodden path, the sounds of rhythmic footfalls accompanied by the clanking of tokens intended for exchange. As the party approaches their destination, the atmosphere is tinged with anticipation, delicate dance of words and gestures poised to unfold upon arrival. Imagine a minor miscommunication, causing momentary confusion at an initial meeting, where a well-intended but slightly misunderstood gesture leads to a ripple of laughter. The solemnity softens, broken by smiles that reveal something inherently humanthy, capacity to laugh at oneself and find common ground in shared chuckles. Historians still debate the exact role humor played in diplomacy, whether it served as a deliberate tactic employed by savvy emissaries or emerged naturally amidst efforts to navigate cultural differences. Regardless of its origins, humor provided an invaluable respite, offering relief from the weight of negotiations and making agreements more palatable in the process. The chiefs, aware of the power embedded in a well-timed jest, showed support for their diplomats' ability to use humor as an olive branch. A deft quip during tense discussions could transform discord into a lively dialogue, reminding all involved of the human connections woven into the fabric of diplomacy. As the day moves forward, you can see the mingling of cultures bring with it the unexpected comedy of misalignment. Picture a formal banquet where unfamiliar foods or attire evoke both surprise and conspiracy smiles among delegates. The absence of malice in these light-hearted moments reinforces bonds, turning potential embarrassment into an enduring joke shared across languages. Young members of these missions, wide-eyed with responsibility, often bear witness to these gentle comedic interludes and tuck them away as cherished lessons in the art of negotiation. These experiences, imbued with humor, equip them for future endeavors, honing their ability to navigate the complexities of human interaction with grace and mirth. A return from a diplomatic mission is greeted not only by a recounting of agreements reached, but also with tales of unexpected humor along the way, narratives that elicit laughter and admiration from the gathered tribe. The line between solemnity and silliness becomes almost indistinguishable, as stories told in jest nurture relationships long after treaties fade into memory. Step away from the intricate dance of diplomacy, with its humor-tinged tales of alliances made and challenges navigated. You realize the deep value that humor brings to the table, as both a remedy and an enhancer of perspective, infusing even the gravest of tasks with buoyancy and life. In the end, laughter in diplomacy transcends the challenges posed by borders and barriers, becoming a common language understood by all. It shapes the course of negotiations, offering a reminder of kinship and the shared humanity that underlies agreements, handshakes, and the stubborn persistence of peace. Under the ever-watchful sky, you carry with you the knowledge that in diplomacy, as in life, laughter acts as a buoy holding afloat the complexities of intention, while casting a light that aids in understanding. Here, in this gentle mediation of humor, tensions soften and agreements find their footing, ensuring that the dance of diplomacy remains as graceful and enduring as the ebb and flow of the river that frames this rich tapestry of community life. The horizon is tinged with the fading colors of dusk, as you find yourself standing at the edge of a field where the intense world's tension to awaits, a place where warriors sometimes gathered and conflict loomed as a possibility, yet where, surprisingly, humor occasionally sneaked in as an unexpected participant. In the heart of Mississippian life, even the specter of conflict bore instances of unanticipated laughter, reminding all present of their shared humanity. As you observe, watch the warriors preparing with solemnity, their expressions determined yet tinged with the lightness only camaraderie can bring. The air is charged, a palpable anticipation for what might unfold, but beneath the surface lies room for humor. It's an acknowledgement that in the midst of preparation, levity can walk hand in hand with seriousness, like a jest shared between old friends before a decisive match on a field of green. Consider the scene where the chiefs, known not just for their leadership but also their deep understanding of the human spirit, orchestrate a grand spectacle designed more to impress and deter rather than to engage in outright conflict. As they rally their forces, imagine the light-hearted banter exchanged, diffusing potential tension like a safety valve for a teeming cauldron. In moments such as these, humor can ripple through the ranks as effortlessly as a breeze. Even a disciplined warrior can succumb to laughter when a well-executed mock charge, designed for intimidation, devolves into hilarity as a comrade trips over an elusive route, sprawled in a pose of comedic relief. It's these moments that transform potential hostility into shared joviality, a reflection of strength, dressed in good-natured jest. Historians still argue whether humor was consciously integrated into preparation as a strategic tactic, or if it burgeoned naturally from the interplay between bated expectations and the inevitability of the unexpected. Regardless of its origins, the laughter that blooms at these thresholds of tension serves a purpose, turning enemies into mirrored reflections and uniting allies further. Imagine two opposing chiefs meeting under the pretense of negotiation, each surrounded by their resilient companions. Yet, rather than stand rigid and combative, humor softens their tones, diffusing potential aggression and bringing an element of play into a tableau that might otherwise seem fixed. In these exchanges, subtle jokes can transform the atmosphere, and mutual understanding is born from a shared sigh and chuckle. At the edge of a camp, young aspiring warriors mimic these scenes, crafting wooden sticks into toys that mimic the tools of their elders. As they play, their mock battles swiftly dissolve into games of tag, underscoring the unscripted, whimsical nature that even imagined conflict can carry. As the evening deepens, returning warriors might recline around shared fires, recounting tales not of brutality, but of mishaps that kindled laughter, those very memories that lends hardship into narrative, offering an enduring glow within the community's shared story. Step back from the field of anticipation and let the humor found in these scenarios envelop you like the soft embrace of the approaching night. Witness how conflict, approached with a light touch, becomes more palatable and transformed a reflection, not of aggression, but of the camaraderie that joins the hearts of those in its shadow. In the gentle enfolding of night, you understand that for the Mississippian chiefs, humor was more than relief. It was a crucial equilibrium, a reminder that every conflict holds the potential for connection, and every challenge bears the opportunity for laughter. Within these gathered circles of preparation and practice, laughter becomes a subtle promise in unspoken understanding that even against a backdrop of tension, humanity's kinship shines the brightest. Beneath the starlit sky, this revelation settles within you, a lasting testament to the power of humor in the spaces between sacred and struggle, binding them together into a cohesive, unstoppable force of resilience. Here, in the domain of both possibility and pathos, laughter constructs bridges spanning the gaps between us, ensuring that even in the presence of potential conflict, our shared story continues with joy. The cool night air wraps around you like a comforting cloak as the Mississippian village settles into a serene hush, with the laughter and stories of the day fading into soft whispers carried by the gentle wind. It's in this tranquil time, bathed under a canopy of stars, that you're drawn to the gathering of people who convene for the night's final shared momensa time to recount tales of endearing humor and warmth, to reflect on memories that bring smiles even in their recalling. As the village rests, the people come together in small circles, seated comfortably on soft grasses or woven mats. This is a space where the day's humorous moments are recounted with light hearts and glinting eyes, a time for endearing anecdotes that invite shared chuckles to pave the path to dreams. Here, imagine the scene where a respected elder regales listeners with a tale from their past, perhaps a long-ago festival where a misplaced step during a dance led to an unforgettable series of comic tumbles, ending with the entire crowd rolled in hysterics, united by the joyful accident. As laughter echoes softly through the night, the chiefs join this collective reminiscence, their own tales revealing the humor embedded in their journeys. They share stories of days spent navigating the nuances of leadership with a jester's wit, or of overseeing ceremonies where unexpected levity turns solemnity into moments of shared mirth. A young child, cradled in their guardian's arms, listens intently, their eyes wide with wonder. Though the intricacies of the stories might escape them, the laughter ripples through their being, a gentle guide escorting them into a world where stories and humor are embraced as treasures, passed down like precious heirlooms. Historians still ponder how such tales, tinged with humor and wisdom, persist through generations, captivating and enlightening with equal measure. Yet the answer lies in the echoes of their joy-tender reminders that the essence of humanity thrives in shared smiles and the universality of laughter. These stories, recounted beneath the starry landscape, kindle the imagination, weaving laughter and life into an unbroken circle of continuity binding past, present, and future within their playful embrace. As the night deepens, some listeners begin to drift into the realm of slumber, their dreams now tinged with the humor and warmth of the tales imbued with collective memory. This sacred lullaby, composed not of notes but of nuanced jest, guides them into peaceful rest, an enduring connection between heartbeats and laughter. Step back and witness how laughter becomes the binding thread, stitching together the tapestry of community with strands of mirth and understanding. It's a sound as timeless as the breeze rustling through the leaves overhead, as steady as the river flowing in soft trickles over age-worn stones. Underneath this eternal sky, you come to realize that the Mississippian chiefs, with their wisdom and humor, leave behind a legacy not solely of leadership, but of laughter, a beacon through the ages. These endearing anecdotes become whispers of reassurance, reminding each soul that even in times uncertain, humor lies ever waiting to light the way. In the gentle, slow embrace of night, let your mind wane and body surrender, knowing that laughter will tend to your dreams with a gentle hand. As the last echoes of shared stories slip into silence, you rest easy, wrapped in a cloak, crafted from memories of light-hearted moments and the limitless bonds they weave. Here, where the ground meets the sky and the past waltzes with the present, let the echoes of laughter and leadership become your guidea, beacon of hope and harmony that cradles you within the warm embrace of history's humor. Sweet dreams.